everybody. We are live. So welcome to Mom Caps. I'm Jennifer Hughes. I'm here today with Rachel. So she's consented kindly to come on and share a brief parenting tip with us. So welcome, Rachel. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. Well, I'm so excited about your tip because this one is so important. So you're going to be talking to us about kind of just stopping what you're doing and taking that time to spend with your kids. So why did you choose this? Why is it important?
So I'm a mom of 7. The age group, my oldest is 21 and down to 7.
Right.
But I also have 3 nephews living with me as well that are 5, 7,
Wow.
he just turned 8 and 11. So we've got a full house. So I have the job charts. I think jobs are very important. They all take turns doing everything. Even the youngest does the same jobs as all the older ones. It's important to know that those little kids can accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm the kind of mom that loves a beautiful house, loves it clean, but I also know that with 12 people in the home, it's never going to be clean, you know, and so they do have their time where they have to get their jobs done, their responsibilities, things like that. But I've also learned that they grow up so fast. Like you blink and they're gone. I have 2 that are out of the house and the time
about to get married, and I'm
like,
like,
yeah,
what is happening? My oldest is 26, and then they go down to 12. So of my kids.
Yeah, and I just had my 23rd wedding anniversary, and me and my husband are like, where did that 23 years go? Like, it was gone so fast. And I think a lot of parents don't realize, like, the 20 years they're in your home versus the 80 to 100 years you live.
Right.
Is such a small amount of time. But when you're the mom with 3 little ones running around your legs and you're just like going crazy, you think you're going to be in that forever.
Yes.
And so I've learned that, like, they just grow up so fast. And so you have to just stop and enjoy the moment. Stop and take time with them. There are times that I'm like, okay, this is important, I have to get it done. But 90% of the time, if your kid came up to you and said, can you read this book? And you took 10 minutes and read the book, it's not going to matter with your day that much, especially now that everyone's been working from home and doing all these things. Our kids are there all the time. Yeah. And so I've learned that, like, you know, if we're supposed to be cleaning, but like we decided to go out and jump on the tramp, or they wanted to make some lunch, just stop and like have a restaurant with them, you know, like let them do the restaurant. And I've also learned to stop and take the pictures when they make that huge mess and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I cannot believe you just like spilled all the oatmeal all over the kitchen floor and you're doing snow angels in them, you know, like grab the camera and take the picture. Because you might be so furious in that moment, but it's gonna pass, and then you're gonna wish you had like documented all the things that those kids did. Yeah. And so,
well, and I've heard a story just like that about I can't remember who it was. It was somebody really successful, right? Who when he was 2, you know, was trying to pour the milk onto a cereal and spilled it all over. And so it's all over the floor. And instead of crying over the spilt milk, the mom just came in and said, okay, so you've learned a way not to pour the milk on your cereal. So, you know, first let's play in it. We're going to have to clean it up later, but first let's play in it. Let's do experiments. Let's do all these things. And then, you know, so they played, they made little sailboats and put it in the milk, you know, and it just played and splashed and had fun. And then they cleaned it up. Then they went outside into the yard and said, okay, so now let's do an experiment of how your 2-year-old hands can hold the milk carton and pour it. And they just practiced over and over until the baby could, you know, the 2-year-old could pour the milk by themselves. And, you know, it was just an experiment. And then, you know, they became very successful because they learned failure is just a lesson. It's not failure. It's just information. It's just information. So,
it's just a way you probably don't want to do it again.
exactly. Now we know how not to do it next time. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yep. And I do, because I have quite a lot in the house, sometimes there's ones that need a little more attention. Like I have a 9-year-old that he's on the autism spectrum, and sometimes he just, gets a little wild up. And so for him, we came up with a secret word that when he really needed me to just stop, like he could come up and say it. And he loves origami and like making origami and things like that. So if he comes up and says origami, then mom knows to stop, give him a hug, give him the attention he needs, because he said the like secret word, and so I've done that with a couple of mine.
Like
that
a
it's
trigger word, like
yeah, and not some
words, so that if you say it, I'll know. Okay, wait, I need to stop. I need to think. I need to really pay attention here. Like I think that's so smart.
Yeah, because he's one that would always like want attention and come hug and all this stuff. And so I said, okay, if this is a time that you really, really need me, this is, what's your secret word? And we kind of discussed the secret word together, like what would be cool, what's not something that's like you're using all the time in common phrase, so that when he stops and says, origami mom, and so that's another thing that it also gets me to remind me like, oh, have I stopped? Like if he's saying origami, then maybe I need to reevaluate, like, am I giving him enough attention, and some kids do need more attention than others. That's just personalities and things they're going through at different times. And so I'm kind of a spontaneous person. I like to go, oh, we have a day and we're not doing anything. Let's stop and go do something fun. And the dishes can wait and the vacuuming can wait. And because, I don't,
that can be motivation. Like, hey, we're going to go, to do this really fun thing. Let's take 10 minutes and all just power through it together. Right.
Yes.
That's when my kids are like, yes, before we go on a trip, they know we got to hurry and clean up his house so that when we get home, it's nice and clean.
Yes. My favorite impromptu cleaning is I take all the jobs that everyone's supposed to do and put them on pieces of paper, and I cut them out, throw them all in a bowl, and then everyone has to pick 5, or pick 10. And that's how we all power through, like helping everyone do it together, because sometimes you're like, oh, let's all power together. And then the little one has the harder job that day, and so when we have to like power through it. Yeah. And they will get it done quicker. If it's like, hey guys, we can go to the pool. If in 10 minutes you can all help each other and get it done quick,
Yeah.
So it's really fun. And it has gone by fast. Like the time, like I'm like, did I do enough with my older kids? I don't think you ever look back and go, I wish I would have cleaned my house more. But you always look back and go, I wish I would have spent more time with my kids or done more fun things. And,
If you ask them, what was your favorite memory with me? It's going to be something simple. My oldest son, when he would come home from school, when he first went to junior high, his first year, he was coming home a half an hour earlier than my other kids in elementary school. And and he had to earn his time on the video games, right? So like he had to spend, if you want to play video games for 30 minutes and it's only 30 minutes at a time, you have to read a book for 30 minutes to earn that time. So he would go and he would just get totally into this book, and he would read for 3 hours. He's like, okay, now I get to play 3 hours. I'm like, no, you can play 30 minutes and then you can go read again, or you can practice the piano, excuse me, or you can go outside and have physical activity for 30 minutes. That's how you can earn your video game time. So he would come home from junior high and nobody else would be home. So I would bend the rules and say, okay, just for right now, since nobody's looking, you can play your video game until the girls get home. Don't tell anyone, it's a secret. And so he would invite me to play with him. He's like, come and play this Star Wars game with me. And I'm not a video game person, but it was important to him. So I would just, every day after school for 25 minutes, we would play the Star Wars video game, with him. And that's his favorite memory. Like,
that is awesome.
He's my 26-year-old. That's his favorite memory with me. So I'm like, so glad I did that. It's not something that I would ever choose to do by myself, but it's his favorite memory with me. And it's just so simple.
It's the simple things that end up being the big things, right? Like
exactly. So, and I love the idea of making sure they all have a job too. So I learned this with my oldest, my 26-year-old, when he was like 18 months or 2 years old or something like that, his room was just wasted. It was a disaster. And so I was like, I was busy working, cooking or cleaning or something. And so I said, I want you to go clean your room. And he's like overwhelmed. So I'm like, I want you to go get all the books and put them on the bookshelf. So he ran up excitedly, put all the books on the bookshelf. I'm like, okay, now go get all the dirty clothes, put them in the basket. So he ran up there and put all the clothes in the basket. And then, he came back each time like, I did it. He was so excited. So I'm like, yay, you're so smart. And okay, now go get all the toys and put them in the toy box, and I just gave him one task at a time, and he celebrated each step. He's like, I put all the toys in the toy box. And I'm like, you are a genius. You're so good at this. And so each step, everything, put all the trash into the trash can, all of it. And he just did it step by step. He was so excited. He was 2, maybe 18 months or 2 years old, So that was a big deal for him. He accomplished a lot, and he could see, now my room is clean, and so they can do it. They are capable of doing
yes.
it,
And I think sometimes they want to. Like when my 8-year-old, his day to mop the kitchen floor, like sometimes he's dancing in circles to the music, but he's learning how to do it in a fun way. And as a mom, then I have to accept that, because I asked him to do it. He did it in his way, and you can do it with them and teach them how, or break down the steps to simplify it. But I'm like, he's learning to mop and he's not complaining. And so do I care if he's mopping in circles and it doesn't get done perfect? No, because as they get older, then they get better and better, and they like that responsibility. So yeah.
Absolutely. I made up a game with my kids that, when I try to get them to do something, like, I'm like, okay, everyone clear off the table. And they would just sit and look at me like, are you kidding me right now? So I made up this game. I was just like, what? Wait, where'd you go? Where'd you go? I can't see you. Are you still here? And so they would come and put their face in front of their hand in front of my face. And I'd be like, I don't even see her anymore. Where did she go? And so then, she would start clearing the table. I'm like, oh, those dishes are flying from the table to the kitchen all by themselves. How is this happening? And I would just kind of make up these games. And like, they would be like, can we play The Dishes Are Invisible? Like, yes, we can, and it required a little energy from me, but I was willing to give that because it taught them to work and it made it fun for them. And so sometimes you can make it fun like that, or sometimes you can allow them to make it fun for themselves, or, challenge them, come up with a game or something to make this really fun or something.
I know my husband always comments of when he was growing up, it was beat the record, which kids nowadays are like, what are records, but his mom would put a song on a record and it was, could you do your job before the song ended, and so nowadays it's kind of like, okay, put the song on the phone or Pandora or Alexa or something, but it was like
saying the record is, I get the dishes done in 3 minutes and 42 seconds, so I'm going to beat that. I'm going to get it done in 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah. No, it was like the old fashioned, she put the record on, put the thing on, and it was a song on the record. Yeah. But that's another one too. Like, okay, well, time yet. Okay, let's see if you could beat your time for last time.
Yeah. Or see who can pick up more things than me, or like everyone, let's go see who can pick up the most things and put them away and count them. And, there's a prize for whoever wins or whatever. I have a cookie here. So there's so many ways to do it. And especially if you're working side by side with them, they love that. They love to see that you do it, that you're working, that you're happy. It's a really good thing to teach kids.
That reminds me of another stop. Like if they come and say, hey, Mom, can you help me do it? Like I go, yeah, he's actually wanting to do it. I should stop what I'm doing and go work with him. Yeah. And so that's a great one too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and so often they just want our attention, and they can tell if we're actually reading our phone while we're pretending to listen. They know. I remember that as a kid. I'm like, not listening at all. So not going to talk to her anymore. I remember that. I remember that feeling. I'm like, I don't feel like what I say is valued. I remember feeling like that as a kid, and kids know. Like, you cannot, do you know when your husband is doing this, looking at his phone and, yeah, honey, yeah. Like, can you tell? Kids can tell immediately. Like, and like, you're not fooling them. So it's really a disservice if you don't just stop look in their eyes and give them the attention they want. They're like, they're not really that demanding. They're very patient with you, you know?
Yeah.
And so if they need something, you know, it's really like when you're talking about, like you already talked about this, in the long term, you know, you're going to benefit so much more by just giving them that time and attention. Because when they're little, they're so eager for it, they're so anxious for it, but they're not too demanding about it. But when they get to be tweens and teens, they stop asking for it. So that's when they maybe have an unhealthy self-concept if they haven't, you know, if they haven't gotten that kind of validation from you. So
As I've learned with my teenagers, if they come in late, you know, and we're like in our room and the lights are off and we're kind of waiting up for them, but we haven't quite gone to bed, and they come in and turn on the light, that means they're like here to stay for a little while and they want to tell me what, you know, what's been going on. And so sometimes my husband's like, I gotta go to bed. I'm like, no, that's their precious time that they're willing to give us.
Right.
We're going to let them stay as long as possible. And if they like hop in the bed and start talking about they were doing, like, it's okay if we go to bed late that night. It's okay if we stayed up an extra hour, because like you said, those are the precious moments that they're willing to give us. Right. So I want to take them all in. So just stop, listen to them, give them all the attention they need until they're ready to go to bed, because that's what they'll remember. They'll remember that I came in late and you always like sat up and talked to me. And yeah.
My husband and I tag team that. So he takes care of all the early morning stuff because he just naturally wakes up at 5 a.m. and he likes it. And I'm just like, why would anyone choose that? I will stay up late every night. You know, it's just how I am. And so when they come in late, they talk to me. When they get up early, they talk to him. You know, we just kind of tag team that, and it works really well.
That's good, because then they get both dad time and mom time.
Right. And it's kind of nice when it's that individual time. So they know late at night, I'll come and talk to mom. You know, if it's early in the morning, dad will give me a ride every time. You know, if they ask me, I'll be like, ask your dad.
That's right.
Give them a ride at 5 a.m, you know, and they just know not to ask me.
Yep.
That's a tag team like that. But yeah, so like, how can you convince moms to just stop? Like when the kids come and talk to them, how can we teach the moms to just stop and give them that time?
I think it's realizing how short life is. Yeah. And sometimes it like takes an awakening. And I remember I had a younger sister, and she made the school play, and my mom would drive her to the school play, you know, for practice every day. And it was just her and my mom. And my mom was like, when I started taking her, I just had this like inkling, like I should shut off the radio and I should just talk to her, you know? And so she's like, I would shut off the radio, and that 15 minutes of just driving her to and from practice, the play practice every day, she's like, we actually talked. And my sister had her opening night of the play and was killed in a car accident the next morning.
Oh, no.
And my mom later said, she goes, that was a gift. She goes, that was a gift that was given to me, that the Spirit prompted me to shut off the radio that first time. She goes, so I kept doing it. Right. And she goes, and now that's a gift that I had, that I got to spend that time with her for the several months before she passed away. Yeah. And so I think it's important, because as moms, we think we're going to grow old. All of our kids are always going to be there. They'll always come back, you know, and life is precious, and you never know how much time you have, how much time they have. And it's a fact of life. Like eventually we all die. We just can't control the timing we have here. And so I think it's important to just remember it's such a short amount of time, and it's going to be gone quick. And so when you realize how precious life is, then you understand what's important, and you understand that like family to me is the most important thing. And so for me, I'm like, okay, like that's always been a reminder in my mind of like, is this the time I should turn down the radio? Is this the time I should, you know, take the time? And so for me, that's how I remember to stop is, you know, we're blessed with a great amount of time with her, and she was only 16, you know, and so you just never know. And so for me, that's the reminder, is just, our time is short and we never know how much we have. And it doesn't mean that like you still don't have to live life and do things that are important and go to work if you have to go to work and stuff, but to just stop and think, okay, is this one of those times that what I'm doing really doesn't matter in the eternal perspective? You know, that can I take 5 minutes? Okay, if I can't take 5, can I take at least one and give them a hug and give them attention for just a few minutes, you know?
Right.
So yeah.
Well, maybe asking yourself the question, will what I'm doing right now matter in 1 year from now, in 5 years from now, in even in 3 days from now? No,
Yep.
no, making dinner and having it ready, you know, I can take 10 minutes and dinner can wait for 10 minutes. That'll work just fine. It won't even matter in 10 minutes from now, right?
Yep.
So I think that's an important question is, will it matter? Will what I'm doing matter? And if it's spending time with your kids, yes, it will matter. If it's doing the dishes, no, it won't matter. The dishes will get dirty again. They'll have to be done again. And so, but I really love that about the commute, you know, and I was going to bring up my sister lost her 14-year-old to cancer, you know, 3 years ago. And that's a quick way to remember life is precious. Life is short. And, you know, now she has these other 4 kids that she is still the mom to, and that she knows how quick it can go. But commuting, that is such a good time. Like, because, you know, there's something about when you're looking eye to eye to somebody, it's a little intimidating. Like for kids, if you're sitting side by side, it's ideal to get them to talk because it's not as scary, like looking right into your eyes, you know, maybe they'll be like, you know, I did this thing and I've been feeling bad about it. And, you know, I was nervous to tell you or something like that, you know? So, so commuting is such a good time to talk. And like, by the way, if you're giving rides to them with their friends, you will just listen and you will learn stuff, you know, like they will talk about the boys they like, or the, you know, the things that are going on at school or whatever. They will talk about it with their friends and you'll learn new things that they don't really talk to you about, you know?
Isn't that so true? The eavesdropping, you know, I'm always like, if you're going to eavesdrop, you got to eavesdrop right. You got to not let them know that you're eavesdropping so you can get the information.
You have to pretend you can't hear them because they think you can't. They just talk like you're not there, so you have to pretend you're not there. So
That's right.
Talking to their friends, it's a great way to learn more things about how they're doing in their life and what's going on in their life, because sometimes they don't tell you those things.
So true.
When my kids were really young, I live in Arizona, so in the summer it's so hot outside. Like I really wish we had summer vacation like December and January. You know, that's when like we go outside to play, you know, when it's nice and cool out, and otherwise it's too hot. In the summer we swim. That's like it's like winter everywhere else. You only go outside in the winter to play in the snow, but we only go outside in the summer to swim. That's it. Then you come back inside. And so it's kind of hard in the summer to have the kids out of school because they're not outside playing, you know? So so I would play school with my kids. I would just spend time with them and like teach them things. And so I made up kind of all these alter egos. Like, okay, so I'm the teacher. So my teacher name is, you know, Miss Lovey-Dovey. It's kind of a silly, weird little name. And then, you know, I would be the swim teacher. I'd be Miss Dolphina, you know, and the librarian, Miss Read a Book. So I would just kind of have these different
that's awesome.
egos. And then when I was being the lunch lady, I was Mrs. Persnickety, you know, so I just kind of created all these kind of alter egos. And it, like, my kids, first of all, loved it because I was sitting there spending time with each one of them and giving them their own kind of personalized, okay, I want you to read this book and tell me what you learned in there. And I want you to do something more at your level, you know? And so anyway, I was spending time with them individualized like that, but also they would come to me, just exactly how I look, and just call me by one of my alter ego names.
Oh yeah.
And just say, you know, Miss Lovey-Dovey, you know, I want to, like, and she would tell me something she wouldn't normally tell me. It was fascinating. Like something like, and also cute things like, I think our teacher has a crush on the principal, you know, my husband would be the principal. And yeah, so I just found it fascinating that they would come to me just by kind of creating an alter ego for myself. They
You
would
would know by what name they called you, which alter ego they were wanting you to be, right?
Right. Right. Well, and we usually moved around to different parts of the house, for the library and for, stuff like that. So I had a PE teacher name, I had it all. and and they would come and tell me different things. It was really interesting. So
That is awesome.
that's a good thing to do. Like you can just, when you're doing their hair or something like that, you can just pretend to be the hairdresser and they'll just sit and talk to you like, so tell me this, like you're a hairdresser and they'll tell you different things. It's really like interview them. It's really fascinating.
That is awesome. I love that because we've
Yeah.
done that where last summer we did a week and did different things. So one week was a science week and I ordered like a pig heart, a starfish, a frog, all online and like let them dissect it and stuff like that. I'm like, why didn't I have a scientific name? Like, why didn't I create my alter ego?
Right. You missed your chance. But you know what? You can do it again.
That's right. That's right.
And I always made them silly like that. I always made them very obvious and silly, I think the PE teacher was Miss Runaround. They were just stupid names, but the kids loved it.
Loved it. That's awesome. I love that tip. Thanks.
Yeah. That was probably, a separate tip for another day, but that was just a bonus I threw in there. So, but it was cute to see how they would just tell me different things based on, like
what they liked.
I don't really just open up and tell my mom this, but I'll tell my teacher this. Mm-hmm. So when it's both me, I can.
Win-win, right? Win-win.
That's right. So do you have any final tips or strategies before we close out?
I think just like, especially in this time right now where some places are opening up, some places are shutting back down. We've all been in quarantine forever and ever, and it feels like it's never going to end. Mm-hmm. Like, take the opportunity to do fun things like that. Like, let them have a restaurant in the house. Like, it's summer, so if they want to stay up and do a movie night, pop popcorn and like do it with them, and it won't matter because they don't have school yet, and just try to be creative. I mean, there's so many places, like you can go to Oriental Trading and order just cheap crafts and say, we're having a craft day, or we're having a movie night, or we're having like a cook. My kids love to like make menus and like what we're having for dinner, and so just be creative because there are still a lot of things we can do when we can't get out and do the amusement parks or go on vacation and make it fun in the house, because that's how we're going to help them get through this time as well.
Love that, because one time we just decided like we had a week off for fall break or something, and my husband was like, I don't think I can get away. I don't know what happened. We decided to just have a staycation where we're going to stay in town, stay in the house, but we're going to go out and act like we're on vacation. We're going to go to do this one day and go do that one day. And the only way it worked is if we calendared it, right? Like, well, what should we do on Monday? Okay, how about we do this? What should we do on Tuesday? And we kind of asked everyone, what are the things you want to do? And then we just went and did a fun thing every day, like things right here in town. And and I love that, because even if we can't go outside and do it, like the kids go crazy for a movie night, especially if you print out little tickets. Here's your ticket to the movie, and maybe they have to do their chore to earn their ticket. That's how they pay for their ticket or something. They do their chore first, and you give them a ticket and maybe a ticket for the popcorn. They love that stuff. Yes. And they'd probably be willing to make it. Like, hey, who wants to make the tickets for me? And then they sit there and have a craft before the movie night, right? So, they go crazy for that stuff. It's just time. They just want that time with you. And if they have a slumber party, I mean, it's so fun for them to just like put all the blankets out on the floor together and pillows and just all turn on the movie and all sleep right there. They love that. So it's so exciting. Like, you can absolutely still have fun inside your house, in quarantine. And some things that are opened up, maybe you can run to the restaurant and get takeout, and bring it back or something like that. Or making a restaurant. I love that idea, making menus and, saying, well, I'd like to introduce the chef du jour, or whatever. I love that. I love
You know
that.
what? When I was a kid, we called it the money game, is what we called it.
Mhm.
And every kid, I had 9 siblings, so there were 10 of us. Every kid had their own business. And somebody was the restaurant, somebody was the movie theater, somebody was like the bank, and they wrote the check and stuff. And the money game lasted for days. And
Wow.
like somebody was outside and would give wagon rides. They were the carnival, you know. And I think back and I'm like, how did my mom like let us continue that for days? That the store, all the stuffed animals and everything you sell was out for days, and the kitchen was a restaurant for days. And I'm like,
Right.
wow, she didn't say clean it up, put away at the night. She just let us kept going and going. And every time we played the money game, it lasted for a few days. And I think that's why everyone in my family is now entrepreneurs, because we all played the money game growing up. But those are the kinds of things that sometimes it's okay to let the mess be a mess. You know, like it's okay if they're doing something creative, let them, you know, like my son will be like, I want to do science, and like gets the vinegar to like make the little volcanoes. And I just say, put a cookie tray or something underneath it so it catches it. But I'm like, what's a gallon of vinegar? Like a couple bucks for hours of entertainment, you know? Like, so
Exactly.
yeah. So go thank all your parents for letting you do all the crazy things you did. And then remember that so you could do it for your kids too, right?
Right. Well, and tape too. I've had this
Oh,
where like
oh
taping every
yes.
single edge of every single thing, you know, and I just like have the impulse to just say, just don't waste it. You don't need that much. I'm like, how much does tape cost? You know, I mean, you can
Taping
tape
blankets
everything.
together. You know the tape's not going to work, but they just keep taping it and taping cardboard boxes that it's not going to. But yeah. What's a roll of tape?
Right.
So go to the dollar store, get 5 rolls of tape, and when they ask for tape, pull them one of those cheap ones off the shelf. You know.
Love that. Yes, I love that. And I forgot what I was going to say. It was just like, hmm, I had it, and then the tape came up, and that
Oh
was
yeah.
it. That was the end of it.
Yep.
but
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, there's so much you can do at home with them, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that you can just ask them, what do you want to do? You can look up a 5-minute YouTube video and make that craft together. You can say, hey, let's watch a movie together. My son, my 12-year-old, my youngest, has started a YouTube channel where he's making stop motion videos. So
Oh yeah.
it's called the Lego Videoinator, and he's making stop motion Lego videos. And sometimes he'll make other things stop motion too. But so he's found a creative way, and he's like, I have 28 subscribers now, you know, and he's like, he just started last month. So he's making all these videos, and he's killing it, you know, like he's doing really well. And so it's just really cool. Like, what can you do that's creative?
Yes.
What can you allow your kids to do that, you know, it's totally harmless, you know, like to be the restaurant or whatever, to give them those jobs like that. It's awesome to kind of trust them like that. And to, you know, I even had one of my daughters one time, my youngest daughter, came to me while I was making dinner. And so here's the bad example, you know, she's like, Mom, will you read me the story? And I was like, I'm busy making dinner. That's what not to do. But, you know, sometimes that's what has to happen. Sometimes they need
Yes.
to learn to wait for a minute. So so this daughter was 2 who came to ask me, read me the story. My 5-year-old daughter had just learned to read, and she's like, I can read it to you. Was super proud. So totally empowered my 5-year-old daughter. And then the next time, you know, the 2-year-old wanted a story, she went right to the
To the
5-year-old daughter.
5-year-old.
And they would, you know, she would sit right on her lap, and they would she would tell her story. And so sometimes you can empower your other children to do that for you, you know. Like, also my sister, she's like, I have one daughter who's very cuddly. That's her love language.
Oh yeah.
And my sister's just like, I don't really like to cuddle. Like, so she's like, I'm trying to give her what she needs, but also sometimes I'm like, just don't touch me. Like, so I'm like, you need to teach your daughter to just say, can I have a hug? You know, so that she knows how to ask for what she needs. And then, you know, as the mom, she needs to plan for 5 minutes every night. Like, we're going to cuddle together and read a story and then go to bed. And so you'll get your cuddles from me every day. And if you need more, you come and say, can I get a hug? You know, and so you kind of teach them how to, you know, how to ask for what they need. Like, it's such a good skill to teach people to ask for what they need. Most people don't ask for it. They don't ask.
And have boundaries, because then they're like, oh, it's not okay to just run up and jump on someone to hug them. But yeah, like, oh, can I have a hug? Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're teaching kids to ask for, like, I just really need your attention. And usually that sounds like, Mom, will you read me this story? Mom, I'm saying something endlessly right now. Blah, 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 blah. They're saying, I need your attention. I need you to pay attention to me. Or basically they're saying, Mom, do you love me? And if you want the answer to be yes, you need to stop what you're doing and focus on them. Give them your attention so that what they're actually saying is, Mom, do you love me? And then when you stop what you're doing and spend that time with them, then your answer to them is, yes, I love you. You are valuable to me.
I was going to say, sometimes that comes out in misbehaving. That sometimes the ones that are misbehaving are the ones that need the attention. And as a mom, you're like, I'm not going to reward them. They were bad, but sometimes it's like, oh, if he's the one throwing the fits, then maybe he's the one that needs a little more attention right now. And that sometimes can be their way of asking, is like, okay, I didn't get it asking this way, and so sometimes that's a clue for parents to go, oh, if he's misbehaving, maybe I need to give him a little more attention. And that's his secret word, misbehaving.
That's a great point. That's totally true. But I would still recommend that you say, the way you're acting is not okay.
Yes.
I will talk to you when you have completed your fit. Go into your room and finish your fit, and then come back, and then we will talk when you're calm. So that you're not rewarding that behavior, but then I heard the trigger word, it looks like misbehavior, and then I'm going to give them what they need. So then you talk to them one-on-one, and you're saying, what do you think about that choice? Is there anything you could do differently next time? And you're having that one-on-one, and you're really teaching an important skill, and so they're getting what they need, but you're not rewarding that behavior that's in.
Yes. Yeah, just plug it in the back of your mind. He needs attention. Get through the fit, take care, and then later on come back and go, okay, what can we do together now that you're behaving, right?
Right. And we talked about this already, but a drive is a great way to maybe do that. Hey, come on a drive with me. I need to go to the grocery store anyway. And to just kind of sit and talk and just say, so what was going on? What's, whatever. You just kind of ask them questions to kind of find out where they're at and, what they're up to, and, how are you feeling, or, something in a way that's not scary, just to try to figure out what's going on with them. Like, what's your favorite thing about today so far? And, what's the hardest thing about today so far? Something like that. So
I love that.
A drive is a great way to get them to open up to you, because you're not looking right at them. So yeah, well, this has been really awesome. We went longer than I even intended, just because it was just so good. You had so many good ideas, and we kind of riffed off each other so well.
Yeah, I love it. I can keep talking forever.
Yes, well, I appreciate you coming on. It was so kind of you, and you had so many wise things to share with us. So thank you, Rachel, and everybody, drop in the comment. What's something that you can do to, to stop and give your kids time, or maybe a creative way to get them to do their chores or something, or a time that you learned, right? A time that you learned this the hard way, that okay, this is more important than I realized. So drop that in the comments, and that's how to be a mom champ. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Okay, so I stopped the live stream. So, so thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was so fun. I love it.
Yeah, and I can kind of tell by your language. Are you a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
Yeah, I am.
Talking about the spirit and the eternal perspective.
Yep.
Yep, and 7 kids and 9 siblings.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm one of 9 myself.
Oh, good. How exciting.
You have 10 total, right? Because you have 9 siblings. So I have 8 siblings. I'm one of 9.
And where do you fall in line?
I'm the 3rd oldest.
Oh, I'm the 3rd oldest too. So yay.
Cool. So where are you at?
Right now, I'm in West Point, Utah. It's like 30 minutes north of Salt Lake.
Yeah. Very cool. I was going to ask if you were in Utah, but I'm like, well, I'm in Arizona. Like, Everyone
I
does
would,
it in Utah.
I know. Well, we were in Colorado for like 10 years and we moved back here like 4 years ago. So most of my kids all grew up in Colorado. So they're like, we're not from Utah, we're from Colorado, you know, and all the younger ones were born in Colorado. And so even though I'm like,